Hello, this is Dr. Mears, and today we are going to be doing some practice solving quadratic equations by factoring. Some of you may be in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, pre-calculus, calculus, and you're going to have to factor. So this is just some practice problems of me working them through to help you remember what to do. So here we go. Number 1. We have x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. Now let's remember that when we factor, what we want to do is we want to turn this into a multiplication problem. So we want two parentheses separated by multiplication here equaling 0. Okay, how do we do that? Well, the first two terms that go here are going to multiply to give you the first term here. So what two terms multiplied together gives you x squared? X and x. Perfect. Since this is a 1 in front, we don't write it, but it likes to hide. Since that is a 1, we can look at this 4 and we can say, okay, what two numbers are going to multiply to 4, and add to 5? Those two numbers are going to go in the second spots. So, well, I'm going to go with 4 and 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. And they're going to be positives. I have all positives here, so that's nice. It's going to be positive there. Now, how do I check to make sure that I factored correctly? Well, we check by multiplying. What do I mean by that? Let me review that. How do we multiply? So what I like to do is double distribute. Some people might like FOIL. Either one works. So first, we have to multiply the first terms. That's the f in FOIL. So we distribute first. So x times x is x squared. Okay. Then outer terms, x times positive 1. So we're distributing the x to this positive 1, which is positive 1x. Okay. That takes care of the x. We're all done of that. Now I need to distribute the 4. This is the second distribution. So inner terms, 4 times 1x is positive 4x. Last terms, last 4 times positive 1 is positive 4. Combine the middle, they're like terms. I get x squared plus 5x plus 4. I check it. That was my original, so I know that I factored this correctly. Now we have to solve it. Because we made this into a multiplication, I can do what's called separate and solve. So x plus 4 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. And then I have two equations here that I solve, and I have x equals negative 4 and x equals negative 1. So that's solving by factoring. Now this is one of the easier ones because our a term is 1 here. The number in front, the coefficient, is 1. Let's see what happens when it's not. Let's take okay. So let's look at this one. So this is a little bit different because here you notice that x squared has a coefficient of 2. We're not at 1 anymore. Also, it's not set equal to 0. So the first thing that we have to do is set it equal to 0 for this. So let's add 3x to both sides. Inverse operations, please. So now we're at 2x squared plus 3x minus 14 equals 0. Please notice how I wrote this. I put the x term in the middle. I put the term without the x last. That's how it's supposed to go. X squared, x, no term, no x. All right, let's factor this. Okay, so here we have first two terms here have to multiply to give you a 2x squared. Well, the two numbers that multiply to give you 2 is 2 and 1. So this is going to be 2x and this is going to be x because 2x times x is 2x squared. Now, this is where there are so many different methods to use with this if you are not savvy with your numbers because we know that these two have to multiply to give you negative 14. However, when we check it, when we do all of this checking, our middle term this has to come out to a 3x. I'm not going to go through all of those ways. This is just practice. So I'm just going to be going through and looking to see multiplication and guessing and checking. Doing those other forms and teaching you how to do it, and those other ways are a whole nother video. So we're just going to do it. We're just going to see and practice. So we have to multiply to a negative 14. So that means that one of my terms is going to be negative and one is going to be positive. So I'm going to try 7 and 2. 7 times 2 gives us 14. Now, one of these has to be negative and one has to be positive. So you could put positive. We can start positive and negative. Let's check this to see if it works out. Now, I'm making you do the guess and check method. One, because this isn't a video about all the strategies, but also, two, I want you to practice. So again, this is the practice video. So let's check it. Okay, so we do first term, 2 times x is 2x squared. Outer term, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4x. That takes care of that. Inner term, 7x. Last term, minus 14. 2x squared, let's combine these. Negative 4x plus 7x gives us a positive 3x, and then bring down your 14. Check to make sure that that goes back to the original. It does. Wow, that was a pretty good guess, everybody. Okay, let's solve, split and solve. So we split these up, and we can solve both equations. Inverse operations, and I'm running out of paper and screen. X equals negative 7 over 2. X equals 2. And there you have it. Okay. Let's do another one that looks a little bit different. So we have n squared minus 64 equals 0. Now, a lot of people like to put the plus 0n because we don't have an n term. That's fine. These are really nice because you're always going to do the same thing. The first one is going to be n and n. And now, because this is a 1, we can do that nice. It has to multiply to negative 64 and add to 0. Okay, what two numbers? Well, it's 8 and 8. 8 times 8 gives you 64. Now, how do we get these to be negative? One has to be positive and one has to be negative. So just checking that. First, outer, inner, last. These cancel because they're opposites. We checked it out. That's what we originally had. Solving, splitting, and solving. Whoops, numbers are getting sloppy. Minus 8, plus 8, plus 8. So we have negative 8 and positive 8. Some people could even notice that there has no middle term and all of a sudden jump down to here because they're going to know that these are going to be the same number with different signs. So when there's no middle, no end term, it's on because it's going to be the same number but different signs. I like those. Okay, and let me show you one more. And this one is where we might be able to factor out a number first, and it makes it so much easier. Okay, so for this one, what I notice here, these are k's. What I'm noticing here, we have 3k squared minus 18k minus 21. They're all divisible by 3, everybody. So I don't like it when I have a number in front of the square term. It's so much easier when I don't. So if you can divide everything, I'm talking this guy too, if you can divide everything by a common number, watch what happens. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. K, don't forget the K. Negative 21, negative 7, and that equals 0. Now we're back at the problem where we can multiply to the end term and add to the middle, and it doesn't look like the one that we had on the other side where it was a little bit iffy with the 2x in front. So here, K and K, and then we need to multiply to 7, so it's going to be 7 and 1. There's no other numbers. This is negative, and the middle term is negative. So what has to happen is the bigger number has to be negative. So if in order for this term to be negative, For in this situation, I'm going to make the 7 negative. Let's just check. Whoops, k minus 7, x plus 1. So we have k squared minus k plus k minus 7, k minus 1, k squared minus 6k minus 1. I really don't like writing k's. Minus 7, everybody, 7. And that does check out here. So I know it's right. Split them, move the paper down. K minus 7 equals 0, k plus 1 equals 0, and now I'm ready to solve. K equals 7, k equals 1. Okay, this has been 4 practice problems of factoring and different ones to factor and different things that you might have to do. There's the bell, and I hope it helped.